try to minimize that hallway thing there. Okay, we're good.
For a studio audience.
All right. So, Rick, you chat while I try and find us.
Good morning, everybody out there.
Okay, so
aloha.
I am not seeing us.
I don't know if you can see this anymore. It looks like it's probably out of the picture, which used to say hoja.
Hoja.
We
Let's
changed it to
tip it up
aloha.
there. Hoja. But I see it as a hoja, and so do you, Rick.
Yep.
But that's only because we are a little
Looking at it in this phone.
backwards. But apparently, YouTube switches it around.
The world of backwardness. I know.
Yeah.
Facebook
Okay.
doesn't.
So.
Not by itself. Anyway.
No, yeah, right. So
Yeah.
if you are hearing us and you're wanting to comment as we go along, you have to be logged into YouTube. Is that correct?
Correct. You can watch it, but to like or dislike or to comment,
then you have to
or
be
subscribe, then you have
right.
to log in.
Right.
Which is just
It's just the way that it goes. Yeah.
Thing or whatever.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and I
it's not
see
very
Katie's
hard.
here,
It's not
Mary's here,
ridiculous.
Suzanne is here, a hoja from Suzanne.
Hoja.
So yeah, and I'm going to remember to look at the camera because this
know.
is horizontal now,
I know, they
which
should
means
have,
we're
like,
like,
a
where is
little,
it? Little blinking
look or
light.
something by it, yeah.
That would be good. And a couple people are saying hello. Some of you I see your full name. Some of you I see your
Names
on-screen
smaller,
names. They are
really?
small this time, right? We're like, what is
different than it was last time we tried to
that?
do?
I don't know. We're taking a little beverage break, so we have.
Good morning. I've got Kauai coffee here in my cup this morning. And you've got
I
some sort
don't.
of tea, right?
I got some sort of lemon tea
Lemon
business,
water,
you
tea,
know,
something.
whatever. Like that whole getting old thing, and you have to do stuff to make stuff happen and better. Hey, Rick, do you want to just gently push that door closed a little? I think that looking down into the hallway is a bit distracting to me. Keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. Hi, Roxanne. Hi, Heidi. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Patricia. And hi,
Okay,
Brenda.
How about that?
BDN Star. Excellent. So I forget which one. I'm imagining that's Payne, Star Payne, but I could be wrong on that one.
Pain chocolate.
Well, yeah, we got, Ricky kept saying that. We got at Costco some French little chocolate breads. And of course, in France,
It's pronounced
pain
differently, but
is bread, although I'm not saying it right.
There's something it is.
Right.
I don't speak a French accent.
But he kept saying that pain bread, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I finally looked at the label and went,
What
oh.
does that even
Suzanne
mean in
says,
French?
do you guys also see the picture a little bit fuzzy? I don't. Do you, Rick? I feel like we are so
no,
clear.
I
We are
know,
so clear.
I know it records
Star
at
says
a
that's
higher-
me.
It streams at a higher resolution than Facebook does, so it should be very clear. So if it's fuzzy, are you looking at it on your cell phone?
Do you have your glasses on? Because sometimes
That's
I found that that's it for me.
Right.
Kidding,
Let's see, over there,
Suzanne.
looks
How much
pretty
have you been
good.
drinking? Because that also I find is a thing that could be affecting the
Christy's got her
situation.
monitor on the
So
sides and
it's
looking
all
at
that.
but that seems
Yeah.
okay there.
Yeah, I'm
Doesn't
looking at
say- so
both of it.
doesn't
Seems
look
all
like
right.
doesn't look like your lenses all dirty and stuff. so-
Cheryl says, Ahoja! Joan says
Ahoja.
she's not fuzzy over there. So Suzanne, I'd say just kind of knock off
Yeah,
on that
let's-
eggnog, bring it down a little bit. So just kidding.
Or something.
And I think I know a couple of people are trying to get in and see what's going on. Like I said, if you log in or you have the Facebook app on your phone, you're going to and Suzanne, yes, it's better, and I have now it's better. Yes, I have my glasses on. I know, Suzanne, I'm just teasing you. Of course you do. Yeah, it just depends on your device, as always. I'm always searching for that perfect way of interacting and connecting with everybody, so that's funky. Lynn says, good morning, happy winter solstice to everyone from rainy Portland.
Is it the 11th?
Is it the solstice, everyone? I think it is. I've seen a few
Or
people.
is that the equinox?
My solstice is right now. This time of
that's
year,
like
anyway.
the shortest day of the year, right?
Right.
So it's the solstice.
The darkest, longest
And then
night.
equinox is like in June,
And
where
then-
it's the same both day and night.
Oh yeah.
The same amount of day and night.
Equa.
You're right.
Ah, see, there we go.
Equinox, equal night. Well, they don't say equal day.
Hi, Lynn. Maybe they do. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Irene. Hi, Darlene. Hi, anybody that I missed. Barbara. Hey, everybody. So
All the
good to
people,
see y'all.
everybody.
Now, those
This
of
is
you
like
who are
a-
watching for the first time, which, who would that be? Maybe someone. Could be years from now.
It could
You're
be.
discovering
Hello,
this and
future
going,
people.
hi, everyone in the future. Let me give you a good stock tip. No, just kidding. I don't know any of that. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Becky. This is my brother, Ricky. And most of you know this already, but we are here in Maui in my tiny little bedroom in Ricky's apartment. A couple of years ago, I visited Rick, and I said, Rick, I'm just looking for where my next place is going to be to live. Can I just hang out with you for a little while? Rick said, of course, you can stay as long as you want. And that's been 2 years.
What was I thinking?
I mean, honestly, if you have a brother in Maui with an empty bedroom, is there a reason to leave? I don't think there is. Hello, Siobhan. Good morning.
Tricks to make him say stuff like that, and
right.
you're cool.
I just buy pizza occasionally, and everything
just
seems to be
read
fine.
This. There you go.
You signed the contract. You can't renege on that.
No contract.
Pitball Mom says hello, all. So I don't know who you are, but hello to you. I probably do. I
was
just
it pitbull
don't
or
know.
pitball?
Pitbull. Yeah.
Because those ball pits are kind of cool, you dive into and never to be seen again kind of stuff.
You know what? My kids, when they were thinking of what they wanted, we built our house when they were young, and they submitted some plan recommendations for me, and a ball pit room was one of those, which I think is good. Janine says she's got, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ray. Rick.
Read it while it's on the screen.
Oh, got my double chocolate Creo brew with peppermint. Speaking of
Creo
Creo brew, and I know, Janine, you bring this up a lot, and then you've got a chocolate muffin waiting to snarfle, which I think is great. I've got the Creo brew on my influencer page. So if you pop on over to my Amazon influencer page, which you can get to by going to my website, christyfriesen.com, you'll find it in the buy section. There's an Amazon favorites. It has a link to yummy things to eat, because I like yummy things. And I came across Creo brew, which is essentially coffee but made out of chocolate, which tastes like hot chocolate, but more betterer. Right. So anyway, I put that up there. It was a nice little gift pack where you got multiple flavor things and a little, French press and stuff like that.
In the label?
I think it's one of those things like Haagen-Dazs. It's a made-up word that makes you feel very sophisticated, but means nothing.
As well?
Yes, they're made like in New Jersey. Okay, I know, right? Carol says, "Ta-da! I found you," and she's here with her lavender dark chocolate.
Awesome.
Did you know? No. We had some chocolates to eat together, and I did not even bring those in.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is there a certain kind of way to bring it? I can go get it.
Well, I was going to bring the kind in that you didn't like as much.
Oh, gross.
The box of the marshmallow things. So I'll leave that up to you as to whether or not you want to bring those in, but they are pretty cool.
I'll bring them
Vicky
in,
says it's not too late today.
Yourself,
I fell down the rabbit hole of looking for the 45-year-old soup you mentioned. Oh, that's good. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to, after we're done chatting here, click on my video in the inspiration chats. Just watch all of them. It's in one of those. But I think there's one named Inspiration Tray. So that's the one that I talk about soup. So go check that out and see. So everyone, I'm seeing Julia's popping in. Lynn's here. Joyce is here. Donna Marie. Good morning, folks. Fantastic to be here. They're in the middle section in a bag, like shoved, or else on the top section by where the fruit lives. It's hard to say because our fridge has many things. Reverse chocolate chip cookies to snarfle. Does that mean it's solid chocolate with little clumps of cookie dough in it? Is that what we're talking about with reverse? Because I don't know. You do notice that we talk as we get started about things to eat, primarily chocolates, often. But because here's my philosophy, and we've talked about this before, is that you have no idea how long you're going to be on this planet. And you should not put off enjoyment for later, because what if no later? So that's why I always say...
Especially now with SpaceX and Bezos is saying a Virgin Galactic.
Yeah, they could go through a wormhole and we could all be sucked into that in an instant. No one even knows. But not to get too scary or anything, but I just think, you should enjoy your life as you go.
For other stuff,
oh, we could Star Trek it off to another terraformed area.
On this planet, because it could be on the moon or just in space in a sports car. Or
got that. That makes sense. So yeah,
anyway, I mean, to our originally scheduled program.
Right. So you don't want to do something today that could make your possible tomorrows be terrible, but you also don't want to put off until who knows when enjoyment. So there we go. So this is the one I'm going to share with you guys. Doesn't this box look great? These are caramel marshmallows, and this is from Vosges, which is one of my absolute favorite. It's Vosges if you're looking for that Vosges.
Your hands like this.
You do have to be I just got that. Sorry.
I wasn't
Old
gonna
Madonna
say it,
reference. Hi, Christy and Ricky. It's Nerica here. Oh, okay. Nizzy Unit 1. Now I know who you are. And it looks like
I know everybody
Bonnie's
has different
here
handles
and
with
Sharon
their,
is here.
That is something different. Like Facebook
Yeah,
generally
we
has
kind of
names
know our
and,
names in
you know,
Facebook, but now I
Instagram
got to learn them all
YouTube
over again.
often have a handle or some abbreviation. They're just a
completely different one.
Exactly. Something
Right?
that's harder to decipher.
Right. I gotta remember everything. Dang it. So, my friend Cheryl, a different Cheryl. I have one Cheryl who
How
gave
many
me ice
Cheryls
creams,
do
and
you
then this
know?
is Cheryl Harris,
Yeah.
who I had spoken about some of the Vosges chocolates, and she wanted to try some. And she goes, "Wow, I have to do a certain limited, a certain limit order, kind of a larger one. You want to go in on this with me?" And I'm like, "Sure, I can do that." So this is what I picked. So these are caramel marshmallows, and they're fluffy marshmallows with Madagascar bourbon vanilla,
Right.
burnt sugar caramel, roasted walnuts and pecans, and 62% cacao dark chocolate.
Cacao!
62 to 70 is my favorite percentage of chocolates. And for Cheryl Novak, cacao! I know, Vicky, we're not backwards today. YouTube apparently knows how to flip images.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I love this whole group. It's a woman-owned group. They've got a whole woo-woo factor, which I find amazing, and their packaging is unbelievable.
Maybe we're twice as backwards.
Right.
That makes us seem regular.
Okay,
How
so
about
what I'm
that?
going to say, this is how we are twice as backwards. This is their little write-up, I want to share this with you.
Experiment.
By the way, we are going to make things together shortly, so
Not
don't
me,
worry.
no way.
Okay.
Can't drag me into that stuff.
Pillows of fluffy Madagascar bourbon
Oh.
island vanilla bean marshmallow cushion.
Somebody has
Walnut and
words.
pecan studded chewy caramel. Each morsel is cut by hand,
What?
enrobed in
What?
62% dark chocolate, crowned with crumbles of walnuts and pecans, touched with French Guernsey, gray
Another French
sea
word.
salt.
We were
The
playing
combination of flavors is
Why are there
sublime.
fingerprints on there?
The combination of textures is the secret to the addicting allure.
Wow.
Now, I'm saying that somebody knows how to word.
Bravo.
Bravo, indeed. That was as so many great words.
That was.
So you can tell that there's not as many in here as there once was. But part of
This is
that,
not a brand new package.
do you want a whole
I
one?
think I don't want any one.
He doesn't like marshmallows so
They're
much. Can you
okay,
believe?
but I'm not really a marshmallow person.
Oh my goodness, these are fabulous. I can't say I'm a super marshmallow, but their
They're fun
marshmallows
to
are
burn over
freaking
the fire
great.
and then give to somebody who likes them.
Okay, so this is what it looks like, and you have to eat these because they come with a little thing saying, by the way, we're using fresh ingredients, eat it already, and then buy more, right? Len says, my bling fish didn't make it in my box. I just opened my pack. I don't know what that means. So Lynn, message me later and tell me what the heck that is all about. So now I'm going to have just a little bite. Okay, so you can see the layers of marshmallow. That's very unfocused. A little more. There we go. So it's got marshmallow, caramel, and business, which we've already discussed.
How would you
And I
describe
find
that,
it
Christy?
being... Now, when you put it in the fridge, you get a different kind of chewiness to your marshmallow and your caramel that
Right.
I
I
personally
would
find
imagine
quite
so.
delightful.
One that's good for your fillings, maybe?
It's
Oh.
not a super sticky one.
Oh.
So it's not going to pull your teeth out of your head, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And the flavors are all delightful together.
I see.
I approve of this, and you should get some if you want. So yeah, Lynn, and anybody else, if you've got something like that you're suddenly
The
thinking of
message
because we're
disappear,
talking.
Something's not being actively posted, maybe?
Let's see. No, I think it just gives it a little breather. Okay, so eating dark chocolate. I want caramel,
Every
cacao.
platform's got its own
Uh,
little quirks and its own little...
Right.
Now,
Love
somebody
my
must have just typed
chocolate.
something,
Janine
so they'll
says,
just put something, some more stuff
enrobing, yummy, sexy chocolate. Yeah, exactly. Wait, did I hear bourbon? You did. Because as you well know, vanilla beans are grown on a very specific, very picky kind of orchid that only grows in certain ways and certain things, blah, blah, blah. It's a big problem. But in order to pull the flavor out of a vanilla bean, they are put into alcohol. So that pulls the vanilla flavor. So when you're using
Like rubbing
vanilla,
alcohol? Ethyl alcohol?
no, when you're using vanilla, it is actually a little bit of alcohol in it.
Terpentine?
Although I don't know if they like eliminate that as, because I've got imitations for those people who are not able to do alcohols for various reasons. But anyway, for realsies, it usually is. So apparently these vanilla beans they use bourbon to pull the flavor out, as opposed to whatever garbage
Madagascar,
alcohol they've
though.
got floating
Look
around.
at that. It seems really
Conyers
exciting.
says
Hey,
handmade
that says
marshmallows are a whole different
that
level
says
than
it
the ones
in
on the
in
grocery
correct
store.
manner, not backwards for you guys now, doesn't it?
I know it's nice to read in correct
It no
level.
longer says.
Hopefully there are not
Acre-
Madagascar
acre-
hissing cockroaches in there. You know, I just gave my grandson. I sent him a little package for Christmas, and included were chocolate-covered grasshoppers because I thought he would like that. So I asked him yesterday because he got them. I said, "Hey, did you like your chocolate-covered grasshoppers?" He said, "Grasshoppers," and he goes, "Yes, I ate all of them." So yeah, exactly.
He's pretty.
Conyers says
open.
homemade marshmallows. Yeah, look into that, Suzanne. It is a whole thing. I know some of you know Leslie Blackford, another polymer clay artist. I ordered some stuff from her. She has delightful sculptures, and the packaging she used, she makes her own marshmallows, and she uses that as her packing material. So they're in little bags, but then it's cushioning your thing in the marshmallows, and then you can just eat the marshmallows. But it was like the coolest. I don't know if she does that for everything, or I just got a special treatment. But that was like the freaking coolest thing ever. Yeah, I really liked that. By the way, just to give you a little heads up,
Different stuff is fun.
in a few minutes, we are going to be creating things. We're going to be talking about putting legs on things with epoxy clay and then putting a skin on it with polymer clay. And we're also going to delve just briefly, verbally into, some more things you can
Get my eyeballs
do.
out of the picture.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get mine out of there too. More things you could do with epoxy clays and legs and such. So anyway,
That's pretty cool.
Siobhan says maybe the vanilla was made by Madagascan lemurs. Do you remember in our day,
Yeah.
we were like, Ricky and I were both like, we wanted to be adventurers. And I guess we kind of have been. But we used to get National Geographic back in the day when it was like such a big deal. I mean, it still is a deal, but a big deal when you didn't have the internet and stuff. So when your National Geographic magazine came and you could pull out this map to parts unknown, it was really fascinating. And I remember
we had that map right off the bat, you know.
you loved that map.
Yeah.
I think that you pulled that thing. We had stacks of those, but it was such a great tool for the imagination and the thinking of yourself as going crazy places. But I remember they had one episode on Madagascar, and I was just like so fascinated because it's a lot like Australia in that so many of the things that are there in terms of animals and plant life are just that's what's that?
They want to kill you.
No, there's not that level of
Easy there with your gestures.
of
My,
kill.
my coffee is almost in the zone.
Of death and destruction that there are in Australian animals, but just the uniqueness, like the lemurs and the tarsiers, I think, and some of these other things. Lemurs could be lemurs.
We all say lemurs.
Yeah. So anyway,
Maybe you're right. But,
could be. Who knows? Heidi said, "Yeah, my dad had a subscription for 50 years." Cheryl said, "We got them, loved them."
Yeah, we had. We didn't have a subscription. I think we had a subscription like 1 year because it wasn't cheap.
Yeah,
You know,
it
a
wasn't
membership
because it was a
subscription
big
thing,
like
but-
book
But
practically.
we have a lot of, I think it
Friends
started
and-
with a stack of that we got at a yard sale.
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that. And it was
yeah.
some of the older stuff, like from the 30s or something. And so a lot of it was like even the front cover was like text and stuff, rather than pictures. And
Oh yeah,
and it was
yeah,
just,
like that iconic yellow,
yeah.
and the rest of it was black and white.
Will we ever
In the
go to
early
the
days,
moon?
it was.
Is it made of green cheese? What would it be?
It was
wasn't that,
fabulous.
but,
And I do not know the capital of Madagascar. That is a Google thing. We could find it out. I probably knew it
maybe
one
was
time.
the 50s. No, it was-
Siobhan
it
says
was-
Lemurville.
It was older than we were. Yeah, Lemurville.
I think that's not so.
But
Yeah,
yeah, it was such a cool
but it
thing.
was
'cause
fun.
Like, it
It
just brought
opened
out
that
all
world to you of all these exotic places back
Yeah.
when we were in our little tiny universes that we didn't know.
Yeah, that and
Yeah.
Disney and the Jungle
Ah, that's
Cruise
neat,
and
Heidi.
stuff like that, of course. And,
Right. Just that whole adventure thing. And I
yeah,
think that was
Pirates of the Caribbean. Those were, that was
like that imagination
those are
taken
things that
to
are all coming out,
another
and,
place.
Yeah, but all that Disney imagination stuff.
Yeah, I remember watching
Gilligan's
Wide World
Island,
of Disney
course,
and Jacques Cousteau and all that stuff.
Cousteau,
Yeah,
right, that
it
was
was
all
a.
Wild Kingdom.
It
We
was
had all those things
interesting.
were the things that we watched, and that fed that. Of course, we had like woods in our backyard and for miles.
We'd
and
go
so,
running
yeah,
off in there for hours and
Oh, yeah.
days, but it's interesting because us growing up, we had to imagine all the different places on the world. Now our kids, they talk in everybody. They got friends
Yeah.
in every corner of the universe,
Yeah.
and they see it every day on
It
their
is a different
phones. They've
thing.
got videos and reels from everybody.
Yeah,
It
I
is
remember
different.
Being
It was different.
Big into like CB radios, and we had the little walkie-talkies and stuff, and there was some crazy ionic spheric stuff. And North Carolina, we talked to on these little 100 milliwatt things to somebody in Florida, a trucker, and it just blew our minds. And then I got me into shortwave, which got me into ham radio when I got, I was like 12 and got that. So back then it was like talking to the world.
I talked to somebody
everywhere.
in the Ukraine. I was like, what?
Exactly. And now it's like, I wonder if
it's
that, because of the internet and just the availability of everything, it's like, I suspect it's probably not that same sense of wonder, but maybe there is, because you don't actually get to talk to people that are everywhere.
I think it's different, because we see it as a real thing in real time, and we're aware, like those far-flung places are now just part of our life. Right, in a way as before they were very mysterious. Yeah, it's fascinating. So I'm not saying one's better or worse. It's just that's how we grew up, and that's
our perspective on it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
I don't mind having that for the background, but yeah, I think it's a different world for kids, perhaps.
And I was reading the little the kids poem. Mel said, "I wrote a kids poem about Madagascar," and it's like, I want to swing with silly sifakas and ride in a limousine.
Nice one.
Good one, Mel. Good one. I love that. So, yay. Oh, yeah, Days of Pen Pals. It's exactly so. Martina says, hey, I'm late. And no reverse aloha sign this morning. I know. YouTube apparently knows what they're doing with the flippery-doos. So, yeah. So,
just a minor little detail, but it counts for something.
But it does count, which now we don't have our ahoja in the same way, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. So, today we are going to play a little bit, do some making on these YouTube lives, because they're going to a different audience, and they stay up in a different way than when we talk on Facebook. Ricky and I have already discussed about like minimizing our chat so it's not too long, and that way people
hours, like sometimes it is,
like which we love.
Now here it is, day 3, and
they're still talking.
What do you think about this chocolate?
Right, so we're gonna kind of cut that to a nice, satisfying finish, but a little bit quicker than we normally
14
do.
minutes, 58 seconds.
And so we can get right into the creating. And I have some prizes as well. It is 8:21, so it's about that time. Wendy says it's a very different world. If you told me as a kid I would chat in real time with friends in Hawaii, Australia, Ireland, I would have thought you were.
I know, isn't that cool?
Batty, I know, it is. And now it's just like the only thing we get mad at is if we don't see it quick enough and clear enough. Which is amazing. I know. And I do that.
The whole first world problems thing, but it's just like, the things that we take for granted so often, it's good internet, or whatever the things that we take for granted. Because not everybody has good internet, there's still people.
Well, even the fact that you can just.
Here and other places out in the country where it's like, internet, don't really get it. Like the other day, I did some work for a guy, and and set up some stuff on his TV, and he's like, YouTube? I get YouTube now? And it's like, well, look how slow these are starting to fill in the little thumbnail picture. Said, no, you really don't have YouTube.
No,
sorry.
Not yet, but you have the hint of YouTube.
You get to have wild pigs, not YouTube. Sorry.
Oh yeah, he had wild pigs in his property. Yeah, that's crazy.
He had to shoot them off so I could get
so Ricky could get over there. Oh my gosh, that's scary. Scary. And Mel, I'll address that more in the place, but no, this is not specifically for the Circle people. This is a public one, and you guys that are part of the creative circle, you have had some interaction with me and Ricky that have been part of your membership, and we will go back to having that as well. But I thought here at the end of the year it might be fun to be public and of course boost my YouTube. So there's reasons why I want to boost the YouTube. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Click that notification thing, because that will let you know anytime I'm free. Comment, all of those things.
Cool videos. If you guys haven't watched them, Christy posted a few here a little while back on creativity and stuff like that. And they're pretty
reasonable.
Great.
They're okay. They're not really long. They're pithy. Wow. But I'm working on a bunch. I've got my son tasked to, he's a great graphics guy. He's taking some of the live chats that I've done in the past 2 years during COVID from Facebook and trying to turn them into some YouTubeable
vertical,
things.
Lower resolution.
Yeah, but he's getting there. He's really getting there.
A little challenging. I'm gonna get out of here and let you guys have your time.
Oh, before you go, you have to answer Suzanne's question.
Suzanne asked a question.
By the way, how are the derpy birds on the lanai?
They
are lined up on the gutter for when we come outside. I went out there this morning to put some bird
they're all a flutter, honestly, and it just like they're all fluttering right just out on the other side of the railing, and it's like okay, we're getting the stuff out, and every now and again I'm like, toss a piece out, and it's like all the sparrows just die.
All the ones
that
are scared to come onto the lanai
or just,
will go run off down there.
When you think they were starving every day, it's like, what?
Thanks, Mel. Yes, please do share. Yeah, I know. It's kind of fun. We turn into those people that we sit on our porch, lanai, and we watch people walk by and comment about it and feed the birds. I'm sorry, but that's who I've become, and it abhors me and scares me. But I also love it. It's kind of great.
Hasn't it? Yeah,
I always used to just like roll my eyes so hard. It's like, why are people just sitting on their porch and watching people go by?
Because the world is fascinating, no matter how you look at it.
Sometimes sitting down and drinking your coffee is
now,
just
granted,
fine.
We don't generally. I mean, every now and again, we spend the whole day there, but usually we don't. Okay,
we only spend a little time there.
It's just a portion of it.
A very small bit, but it's a good way to start the
conversation
day.
And stuff.
One
sure
has.
That I give Christy a lot of things to think about every day,
so
because
much.
Otherwise she'll just go mindlessly through every day again.
Yeah.
And we can't really be having that.
That's exactly right. So Ricky,
and that said, I'm out of here.
Thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome.
I'm going to give away a few prizes.
Hope you have a great time. If you possibly can, just try really hard, okay?
Try to have a good time, right?
Tis the possible.
Season.
I know
good
it
times.
is.
Yeah.
You can do it.
If in doubt, go take a nap and then either things will be way worse or way better. It's 50-50 chance. We're not in rocking chairs. We just wiggle. I do. Ricky is in one of those ergonomic things where you sit with your knees all crazy.
Chairs,
so he's like, meow, meow, meow.
I know.
Yeah, but mostly it's just us being a little goofy.
We've got 2 ball chairs in the house, so sometimes I'm just come bouncing around on those.
There's another ball chair.
Yeah, I got one a while back. Yeah.
Oh.
I haven't inflated
I didn't
it
even
yet.
know. Yeah. Yeah, KJ, RJ, naps, definitely, for sure.
Naps are good
my pal, yeah.
So
all right, kids.
Farewell.
Adios.
Goodbye. See you later. You can see my hand there.
I did see that. While he is getting his garbage out of here, I'm going to reposition myself slightly and get myself in the middle of the screen. Boop, boop, bye, Ricky.
Bye-bye. See you
later. And I'm going to give away some prizes. So what we did last time to kind of entice everybody to come and join on the YouTube, because I know you get used to a certain technology and suddenly it's like, let's try a different technology. That can be frustrating. So I appreciate those of you who have taken a little bit of extra time to, get familiar with it and log in and open apps and all that other stuff. See you later, Carla, baby. Now it's a Ricky unsighting. That's a good one. So I thought, let's get some prizes going because that just makes everything better. So what I did, and I will change this as we go. I'll probably be posting things here for other prize opportunities. But I posted on my various Facebook pages and groups of just like, hey, comment here if you want to be in the prize gathering. So what I'm going to do is be giving away a few $10 gift certificates. So once, hi Myra, hi Sam, once I tell you who the winners are, they have been picked from those postings. So if you're not already on the Christie's Creative Neighborhood Facebook group or my Christy Friesen profile page, go join into those. Lots of fun things happen there, but that's where I picked the winners from. And then I will follow up after this, probably either immediately after or a little later in the day, depending on how hungry I am for breakfast, and then get you your gift certificate. Then you can use it on my website for tutorials, for products. You can either use it as a discount if you're placing an order, or you can pick something that's, Janine said, as you were going away, it's a Ricky unsighting. He can't hear me. We talk about this room as the cone of silence, because once I'm in it, I can neither hear nor be heard.
Kind of makes me unsightly, doesn't it?
Did you hear it after all? Okay, are you ready, kids, for the winners? Drum roll, please. I have 5 people today that will be getting $10 gift certificates. I will message you through Facebook Messenger sometime today. So go check that by the end of the day, okay, kids? So the first winner is Joanne Brown Bright, which I haven't seen you pop up yet, but it's possible that you are there and just haven't commented. So Joanne, you be a winner. And then Karen Tenney, you're the winner. Siobhan, yeah, Janine is your evil twin. I was wondering about that. Donna Conklin is a winner. And Lynn Neese, you done one, baby. And Vania Stabnov Jacobs. So that is my 5 winners for this pile of giveaways. And I will follow up and let you know how to utilize that. And those of you who won from last week, many of you have used those already. They don't expire, so you can use that $10 gift certificate anytime, and it's all good. All right, so congrats to you guys. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to do some creativity. So later on when I'm done, I will put in the description. So those of you who are watching it after the live and come to this section, now you know that in the description I'll put things like a link to the influencer page that I mentioned, to my website, and other various things that might be of use. And I'll try to put a link over to those Facebook pages that I talked about. Connie, remind me of all that stuff, okay? But I also try to put a little note as to where, at what minute mark, the actual creativity starts. So while we're live, having this back and forth chit chat, we love that. I'm seeing people talking to each other. Martina, my cavalcade of hearts, thank you, my friend. Usually in the lives, she's able to make them run up the Facebook page, which is such fun, but I appreciate those. So if you are wondering, oh crap, next time on one of these live chats, if I don't want to listen to all that yammer, watch them eating marshmallows and whatever crazy nonsense they're doing, how can I get straight to the making? I will usually put that into the description so you know where to scroll to. Okay, so let's get making. So what I wanted to talk about, I'm going to do a little bit of talking, and then I'm just going to give you some little demo type tips. So we're not running through an entire project. This is a technique that I want to share with you. So I use both polymer clay and epoxy clay all the time. If you have questions about that, ongoing on these live chats, we will be having Q&A times. I will be, showing you some various things like epoxy clay, swell again, thermoclear, polymer clay, resin, things like that I use a lot, that I might have some information for, and then we can talk about that and ask questions of it if I know anything. So I'm seeing that there's congratulations to those first 5. Yeah, see different things like that. Okay, yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Christy is doing a little bit of talking. I know, right? A little bit? I don't think so. A lot of bit, always. So what I want to do is, when I'm making something out of epoxy clay, which I love because I can take something that I've created from polymer, something sculptural, and then incorporate it into epoxy clay, which is like a cement putty that comes in different colors, and you can also add color to it. We'll talk about that. But the cement putty lets me add things that I can't add to polymer. Little bits of sand or pebbles or rock chips or shards of pottery. Things like that that I can't embed into polymer in a way that it would stick. So for example, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but you see how I've embedded various things into the polymer on this one. We're going to talk about that in a second, but that's because I've used head pins and I've anchored it in, and so it stays in the polymer after the baking process. But on this one, I think you can see what I've got here is I've got a lot of Murano Millefiori, and seed beads that I've just shoved in, and because the epoxy clay is a glue, I can use these little bits and pieces and they can stick in. Good morning, Cheryl Harris. How are you, my friend? I just finished eating the Vosges caramels that we got together. I had a whole big thing about that earlier and mentioned you on that one, so thank you. They were delicious. So the both of them work in tandem really wonderfully, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, is when I'm creating something with epoxy clay, I often have a little epoxy clay left over. And so I have a whole bunch of little jars nearby, little small bottles. Some people save them, like insulin medicine comes in little jars like this, other kinds of stuff. You can get on Amazon little jars all over the place. But I have these little glass jars, and I will just put little legs on them. So this is like legs in progress. I usually do one leg at a time because it's got to sit and dry. Sometimes if I'm using short and stubby little legs like these, I can put several on there, and I just keep making sure that they're not drooping. But by the time I usually have leftover epoxy clay, it's starting to get stiff, which means it's going to be holding its position a little bit better. So sometimes it gets super crazy, and I use both black and white all the time, and I make, crazy legs that may just be as they are, or they might get covered like this one is with a polymer clay skin. So we're gonna do that today. But it's a really great way of taking something, adding another dimension, and you can, besides putting legs, you can stick branches out. A lot of times I'll use epoxy clay on an interesting rock and embed wire in it, and then I can build off of that. So epoxy clay is not only a wonderful medium to sculpt and create with, but it's also really good to combine with polymer. All right. Suzanne says, Janine, I'm going to have to do that too because they won't understand the world anymore. Oh, I missed whatever that was for. I think I was thinking about the spices come in glass jars. Janine says that she's been saving. Yeah, all those little glass jars. And you guys, I love that you have these other side conversations back and forth. To me, that is great. I always want to try and make sure I'm not missing any comments, but of course, there are times when the comments are between you guys, which is fantastic. That's one reason we're here. So the first thing we're going to do is mix up a little epoxy clay, put it on just a little random jar that I've got lying around, a little bottle. I'm saying jar, these are bottles, I know. And I'll show you how that works. And then we'll take one that already has legs on it, and I'll show you how then to add a polymer clay skin on top of it. And then we'll briefly talk about if you want to add other things like this whole big thing. This one is not a jar, but this one is an amazing shell that I found on the beach. Look at this shell. It's naturally broke so that you can just see all the way inside the core. Isn't that neat? And I figured this little guy just needed to become a coral reef. So you can kind of see what I did to that. And, you know, it's got another leg back here with all kinds of fun stuff. And I just have so much fun doing this. So I wanted to share that process with you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to spin it around so that you can see what we're going to be doing today. And that can be a little bit weird because I got to do spinning and there's just craziness involved. So if you get easily dizzy, look away. Otherwise, here we go. And we're going to try this and see if I can get it focused right on where it's supposed to be. It usually takes me a minute or two to make sure that I've got everything where it should be. Okay, there we go. Okay, the rotated device. Can we all still see it? All right, so now it looks like I want to move it into the middle a little bit. Okay, so I think we're good. It's showing sort of like a weird lock screen, but I think we're okay with that. As far as I can tell, I'm mostly where I'm supposed to be. We're not seeing down too far under the table, which sometimes we can do. Great. All right. So I think I mentioned to you guys that I am hoping to figure out some other technology where I can have multiple cameras and not go through all this craziness with you, which I tend to do all the time, and that's just silly. But I haven't quite got there yet. So I am working on it. Eventually I'll have that all figured out. All right, so let me just push this a bit over. Good. There we go. Okay, so let me show you the epoxy clay situation first. I'm going to have my empty bottle and I'm going to mix up some clay, which I could have done already, probably should have before we got started, but I'll show you that process too, because that's kind of fun. And then I'm going to do my best to be reading your comments as I go along here. It's a little bit off to the side, but I should be able to see that without any problem. Okay, that shell is a one of a kind. Linda, isn't it? It is just such a fascinating piece. I'm putting my little gloves on over here, and I was just so excited to find that on the beaches here. Finding the large cone shells like that, they're not as easy to find, these big ones like this, but this one was just so amazing. It's such a rare thing when you come across treasures, and yet treasures are everywhere. So I love that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I am using epoxy sculpt. And epoxy sculpt is my polymer clay, my epoxy clay of choice. So this is what it looks like. I sell epoxy sculpt on my website, and I sell it in the little smaller ones. I don't sell it in the big things like this, but you can go to Amazon and you can also go directly to Aves, A-V-E-S, which is the company that makes the epoxy sculpt, and get it directly from them. So what I'm going to do is oh, and by the way, I have a coupon code for you if you do go directly to Aves to buy that, and it is epoxy, A-P-O-X-I-E, now, N-O-W. I'll double check that and I'll put it in the description, but I think it's epoxy now, and that gives you like a 10% discount on many of their items, including their epoxy clays, so that's cool. And then of course I've got some on my site if you happen to be buying on my site anyway and just want to throw that in your basket, that's cool too. So epoxy clay comes in two parts, and so what you're going to do is you're going to get two equal portions and then mix them together. And I've just kind of scooped them out with individual spoons. You don't want to cross-contaminate by dipping one spoon in on top of the other, and I eyeball it and just make two fairly equal parts. And yeah, the video is so much better over here, isn't it, Suzanne? It's clearer and I'm much closer. Facebook is doing it on a lower res, and so it's very easy to kind of have to squint and see what the heck I'm doing, whereas over here you can really see it well. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken those two parts and now I'm mixing them thoroughly. And I always recommend that you wear gloves to do this. Two reasons: it's a chemical, and anytime you're working with chemicals, you're going to want to minimize how much of that is, you know, just on your skin. I think that is always like a smart thing. And it is a glue. So if you're getting all of this little residue all into the grooves of your fingers, that's kind of annoying, right? We don't want that. So I'm going to just get this little ball of clay. Now, normally, once I've mixed it thoroughly, you're going to have no striation. So let me press that and see. This is the white color, which, as you can see, their white is sort of an off-white grayish color. You can see that there's no striations or anything involved in there, so that's good. Hi, Suzanne. You got here, Sue. I'm so glad to see you. I was just thinking you had emailed me a little while back, and we emailed back and forth a little bit, but I realized that I never kind of finished the email thread, so forgive me. It was not on purpose, but I'm glad to see you're over here, honey. Welcome. All right, so now I've got the two pieces there. So now I can take my gloves off, and it's not a problem to touch this with your fingers unless you are sensitive to resin. If you are, then you definitely, I'm sorry, I'm getting a wet wipe here, so my voice is going to go away. If you are sensitive to resins, then you might want to keep gloves on the whole time that you're working with this. But I just went over there and got a wet wipe, because once I start playing with it with my fingers, then I'm going to really want to make sure that I keep wiping them off or wiping my tools off as I go along. Okay, so if I was working with this to create some kind of a sculpture, like let's say, as I did with this one, I had the legs already, so they were already on and hardened, and then I added a new covering of epoxy clay so that I could start adding all of my details. And at a certain point, you know, I've done everything I was going to do, and then lo and behold, I have a little bit of epoxy clay left. At that stage, it's kind of stiff, which means then I can go add it to something like a little glass here while it's a stiffer clay, and it's going to just be better as legs. But for now, I'm just going to take this, and I'm working on a little piece of silicone. This is a silicone mat. I got this one at Avies, by the way, and this is how you spell Avies, A-V-E-S. And I love this mat. It comes really big, and then I've chopped it up into a bunch of small things. But you can get silicone baking sheets online. Those are fantastic. You can just take a tile and wrap it in clear plastic wrap. That works as well. And you can also use, you know, those flexible plastic cutting board things that are just like the thin little ones. Those are great. All of those are non-stick surfaces, and you're going to want to put one of those down while you're working with epoxy clays. Like if I was going to press this and turn it into an assemblage by putting mosaic bits, I'm going to want to put it on something non-stick, something like this, where I'm going all the way down and covering legs, and and it's standing up. I want a non-stick surface. For this, I don't really even need that, because I can just turn this little ball into a teardrop, smash it on the side of the glass, and then I really kind of push it on there, make sure it's really got a good grab, because sometimes there's finger oils on your glass, and so it's just going to be, if you don't push it down, it's not going to grab on as well, because sometimes those finger oils really conflict with the connection process. And it's funny how much oil we have in our fingers and how it can interfere with things like paints and glues and resins. So I'm just pressing these on, and I usually just do like these two, because they're like a little taller and skinnier, and you can see how you can watch and see how it's drooping. That's because this is still very fresh. So I will just lay this down like this, and I'm always trying to make sure these ends are fairly close together so that it will stand up. Now, when it's like this, I have a couple of options. I can add powder right now, and I can add any kind of like little embellishments. Like, see how this one has little glittery tips at its feet? So then later on, when I add either more epoxy clay or polymer clay to this, I don't have to go completely down to the bottom. I can taper it off so that these little glittery feet show, or these little colored powdered feet show. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to use some ice enamels from Susan Leonard Kesmer. Oh, I'm probably saying that all wrong. Susan Leonard Kesmer, her product line through Ranger. And I don't know if they still carry these or not, but I love this glass glitter. And you can get that in a number of places, but she's got some fun stuff. And all I'm doing is like dipping the ends in and pressing it on. And the pressing is important because you have to embed that into the epoxy clay, not just let it dangle on the surface, because that's not enough. Those won't grab as well as you want. Now, the other thing I like to do is once that's on there, it's like, okay, I think I need that to be like a little bit more drama. So I'm going to take my powder and just brush it right over so that when it's done, you know, I can use a wet wipe to wipe the powder off the surface of those glass glitters. And so they'll keep on shining really great. But now this whole end, you see, has a wonderful powdered color, and that powder sticks fantastic. I'm using Pan Pastels here, and I love, excuse me, I love those, but you can use any kind of chalk or pigment powder. And so this is now what I have, and I'm just going to let it set this like this and just let those completely dry. So I've got it on a tile. Usually I just leave it on the tile, and it's perfect. And then if I've used any tools or my fingers or whatever, I will use my wet wipe to clear them off. Okay, so that's done. So now you let that sit and dry, you know, and I just keep adding legs to them as I go along, since like I can only add a couple at a time. And then I just keep adding more and more as I go until I've got something that's fully legged up. Now I want to go and add some polymer clay to it. So let me look and see. Sharon says epoxy clay and Swelligant are next on my list to buy and play with. Suzanne says, yeah, Sharon, epoxy clay is addictive, so watch out. Totally, I agree. Swelligant will do one of these live chats, and I'll show you a Swelligant demonstration probably in the next week or two. Of live chats, I'll do a Swelligant demonstration, because that's a fun thing that people have lots of questions about, and so I want to help with that. And just epoxy clay, I love it, so we'll keep doing things with that. All right, so now I've got this bottle, and as you know, you can, just like I've done with this one, is continue to add on top of the glass with more epoxy clay and do whatever kind of interesting little additions you want to do. Obviously I did this on a shell, but there's no reason why I couldn't also do that directly on the glass and just keep going. You can put the nice thing about this is you don't have to limit yourself to stuff that would go in the oven, because this is not necessarily going in the oven if you're only using epoxy clay. However, once epoxy clay dries, it can go in and out of the oven all day. It doesn't shrink, doesn't crack, doesn't do anything crazy. So you can use epoxy clay on parts of things, then add your polymer clay, put the whole thing in the oven. That works fabulous. They are just really great. Lynn says, I can't find my legged bottle that I had lying around. It's on that shelf by the thing underneath that other thing, Lynn. It's right over there. So you'll find it. So anyway, this is fun. And another little, because it's on the top of my head, sometimes I'll add a little bit of epoxy clay or polymer here so that the look of the bottle is minimized. You know, I don't want that big whole lip thing there. Other times I just kind of cover it up and be done with it. Okay, so now let's talk about adding the skin. So I've gone into my scrap pile and I've grabbed a couple of different greens and I've just run them through it, like the second thickest setting on my pasta machine, you know, about yay thick. And then before I put this on, I'm going to kind of just warm it up by holding on to it. Maybe it walked off, says Carol. Ha, good one. That's fabulous. The reason I do that is when polymer clay is cool, which of course it's going to get cool if it's sitting on your tile or whatever else, then it's not going to be as flexible, not as easy to work with. So you're going to want to warm that up before you use it. The second thing is that although polymer clay will stick on all of this stuff, it doesn't really grab onto the epoxy clay as nicely as you would like. So what I'm using now is I am using liquid clay. This one happens to be translucent liquid Sculpey, but any brand will work just fine. And I'm going to put a little bit of lotion of the liquid clay on top of the epoxy clay as a grab. So it's kind of like prepping your surface. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to put just a little bit here, and then I'm just going to kind of rub that all around. And you can make it go up onto the glass if you want. It works equally well there. I'm going to clean my fingers off a little bit just because it's sticky. And now I'm going to take my bit of clay, and I'm just going to press that on and grab it around and pinch it here. Okay, so I'm covering up a good bit of bottle already just by pressing on this clay. And then I'll do the same. I'll lotion up each leg with the liquid clay as I go and press things on. And then I tend to use my fingers a lot for a lot of blending. I have a full set of tools, which of course I'm going to talk about, and I love that. But I use my fingers for a lot of that initial blending just because the warmth of my fingers and the pressing will help everything grab on really well. So to me, what you really want to do is you want to cover all the way down and around if you don't have anything fun on the tip of your foot that you want to see. Otherwise, you can blend it in a little bit. Like, let's say I had some stuff on here that I didn't want it to be completely covered. So, sorry, my liquid clay takes a while to come down to the bottom of the barrel. All right, I can take this little bit of clay here, and I'm going to use that as a blending. Sorry, I'm off screen there. I apologize. I got a little carried away there. I'm going to use this as a way of pulling and blending that polymer clay a little bit more seamlessly into the epoxy clay. All right, and so see how that goes. It's like now it's sort of just dissolved itself into the end. So if I had a whole bunch of funky stuff there, all that stuff like this, you know, this would all get to be visible because I just blended my clay into that. All right. And then if I'm adding additional pieces, and I'm not going to do that here, but let's say I have my next piece that I put on, I recommend this tool. I love this one. This is the Gotta Have It tool for my line. You can find it on my website. And obviously, I would also say that AVs, if you're going to place an order over there, they carry my tools as well. But I use this as a blender, so you can see how quickly that blends two clays together, and then you could leave that texture, or you can continue to blend it in. I put an overall texture on this one, and I think you can kind of see how there's like a whole tree trunky looking thing going on. And I just took another one of my tools. This is the Can't Live Without It tool. And I just dragged a texture like this. Once I had all of the skin on, I dragged my tool over the whole thing and kind of made a nice little texture over the whole piece. So you can see how that works. So putting the skin on there is really good. Puts the lotion on the leg, says Conyers. I know we go through so many wonderful techniques here, don't we? So once you've got all that lotion on and all the skin on, and then you've added texture if you want to. I also added ripples and wrinkles and all kinds of other little fun things to this one. I just used some powder. Again, you can use any kind of chalk powder, pigment powder, pan pastel, whatever you've got. And I just took that powder and put it on with a nice brush and just dragged it onto the surface of the clay. And that makes some nice variations. You don't always have to have variations with your clay. You can make variations with powders, and then there's lots of other things that you can do, you know, to texture and add different looks and things like that. This is a scratch tool, which I carry on my site as well, because I carry the things that I use, you know, just so that you have access to them as well. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can do from there. And then I'm not going to go into this today. This is a reason why you might want to join my creative circle, which is only $10 a month, because we go into this kind of stuff in more depth, and you get projects every month. Then I've added pearls and lampwork glass by using ball tip tools, bending a hook on the end, pressing it in, adding extra bits of clay and all that sort of thing. So there's ways of just incorporating all kinds of additional fun bits all over the place, which is great. All right, so now I want to talk just very, very briefly about the other thing. We're not going to do a demonstration of this, although we will use epoxy clay to make assemblages in future stuff. I do have quite a number of tutorials, which you guys know if you go to my site, and they have things for using epoxy clay, things for polymer clay. I think there's another one on vessels and some other fun things. Mel says, Conyers, thank goodness I can put lotion on my legs when the skin is on. The things we talk about here. But this is just, pressing in tube beads, pieces of lampwork glass, metal findings, glass beads, porcelain beads, all of this different stuff, and then texturing the epoxy clays, seed beads. But what I wanted to mention is I do all the legs first, and then I add another layer of epoxy clay. I don't use the liquid clay for that because I'm not going to bake it. And liquid clay has to be baked. It is super saturated polymer clay. It doesn't air dry. So you're going to only use that when you're working with polymer clay. So what I usually do though is I just press the epoxy clay right on top of the other and it holds just fine. And then I've textured it and added things to it. So there's a lot of directions that you can go with all of this fun stuff. All right, so now I'm going to flip myself back around and hope that I can still see you by the time it's done. Okay. I did it. I didn't lose anybody. Amazing. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, so that is kind of what I wanted to show you, the legs and the skin, which I think is fun. Fresh new skin, I know. Wouldn't it be nice, Mel, if it was just that easy? But what I want to remind everybody is that sometimes it can be very scary to start a new material or just to start. Even if you know what to do, if you know it's easy, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know. I just want to tell you this is like when you buy, if you go to Amazon, and I think I have this on my influencer page, I have a link to some of these little bottles that I use. You're going to spend $10, $12, right? And when you have that, and I know that's nothing to laugh at for some people at certain times of our lives, 10 or 12 bucks is a ton, but you could put the word out. Maybe people have little bottles that they will give you. You can repurpose things. But when you just go, you know what? I'm just going to do it because what's the worst that can freaking happen? You make a mess. You lose some of your stuff. When you're starting, don't use your best stuff. You got like 72 bags of those horrible, horrible beads that Aunt Janie gave you, and you don't have the heart to throw them away. Why don't you just practice with those? And then if it works well, you can use some of your more precious stash. So that's what I want to encourage everybody is to just jump right in because it's going to be okay. If you mess it up, that's all right. You do not have to feel bad about that. It is part of the process of creativity is that things are sometimes going to be crap. And if you mess up, you don't ever have to show anybody. Just do it quietly off in your corner. If it turns out great, then you can post a picture in the Christie's Creative Neighborhood and say, look, everybody, I did it. And they'll all be like, yay. But if it turned out garbage, then just put it aside. Don't throw it away right away. Because sometimes things we think are garbage are because there's an emotional connotation to the process that might be quite separate from the actual result. So if you go put it away where you can't see it for a little while and come back and look at it later, you might go, oh, well, that wasn't my best, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. And I bet if I just add this or did that or whatever, then it might look great. And worst case scenario, you can cover it all with Swelligant and turn it into a metal thing. I can't tell you how many times I've used my metal coatings to solve that problem. So my encouragement to you today is just do it. It's okay. It'll be fine. You'll do great. So find some bottles, put some legs on there, and then just cover them with liquid clay lotion and polymer clay skin. Okay, so does anybody have a question about that process before we say goodbye? Holler up, or you can message me later. Anybody like Lynn, if you had something that you needed to talk to me about, just tell me, and I'll follow up on that as well. And those of you who won, I will get to you sometime by the end of the day and let you know how to use your gift certificate. So I might just run off and then come back and do it later. But anyway, so I hope you've had fun. I absolutely love the process of turning an everyday object like a little bottle into something completely different and a little bit weird. And that's my fun thing. And the nice thing about these is that they're glass, which means you can put water in it and you can put a little flower or a sprig of fern or something fun in there as well. So they have a practical purpose as well. Vicky says, if I filled a test tube with water, could I put some sort of epoxy clay lid on it to seal? You absolutely can. I have done that before. It works fantastic. So absolutely do that. You got it. Gillian said, in my area, we have a Facebook group called Buy Nothing. It is US wide. I think it's a great place to ask for free stuff to use. That's a great thing. Thank you. Buy Nothing. Look on that on Facebook. That sounds marvelous. Because, you know, one time we overbuy on something or overfind, and it's like, well, I can use 20 of these, but not 20,000. Somebody else can, and then you can trade it around. Insulin bottles, that's the word I was looking for. I said diabetes medicine. Insulin is the word. Thank you, Tom. They work fantastic, and of course, you all know about the bottles of hope, which typically take those decorated insulin bottles and then gift them to people that are struggling with their health situation. So that's kind of nice. Happy holidays. Thank you, Suzanne. All the holidays, whichever holiday you celebrate, from Hanukkah to Christmas to solstice to anything else in between. I hope you have a wonderful time with your family, with your beliefs, with your foods, and just with maybe a little extra nap and creativity time. All right, everyone. It's been great to spend this time with you. Thank you for joining me. Stay tuned because we'll have more of these things, and now you can go and find the other ones you might have missed. All right, guys, have a great time, and I'm going to see if I know how to turn myself off, because last time I did not know how to do that. So I'm going to try that and see what happens. But yeah, it definitely was a problem last time, which I'm realizing that I have not figured out how to do that at all. So who knows? So, okay. Bye, everybody.